माधवा कुंज विहार जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहार गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधाम जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधाम जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधाम यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनिचारि यमुनतीरावनिचारि जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गिरिधरि राधा गिरिधारी श्री राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बालदेव जय सुभद्रा जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण भगवान की जय जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की जय गौ निताय की जय निताय गो प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल। All glories to Sumati Nimai, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sumati Nimai, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sumati Nimai, Hare Krishna. All glories to the Lord, Sri Shishi Guru and Shishi Guranga. All glories to the Prabhupada. All glories to the Gurudev Ki. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji. Just give me a second. I'll share my screen. Okay, I hope everyone can. You're reading from Srila Prabhupada, Limited, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. By late afternoon, they had covered the sitting platform, hung the curtains, tackled up the decorative skills and prints, and hung the paintings, and were decorating the days with flowers and candlesticks. Someone brought a pillow for Swamiji to sit on and a faded cushion from an overstuffed chair for a backrest. In addition to the Mott Street cache, Robert Nelson took one of his grandfather's Belgian-style Oriental rugs and from his garage in the suburbs and brought it by subway to 26 Second Avenue. Even Raphael and Don took part in the decorating. The secret was well kept, and the boys waited to see Swamiji's response. That night, when he walked in to begin the kirtan, he looked at the newly decorated temple. There was even incense burning, and he raised his eyebrows in satisfaction. You are advancing, he said, as he looked around the room, smiling broadly. Yes, he added, this is Krishna consciousness. His sudden happy mood seemed almost like the reward for their earnest labors. Eden stepped up onto the platform while the boys held their breaths, hoping it would be sturdy, and he sat, looking out at the devotees and the decorations. They had pleased him, but he now assumed a feature of extreme gravity. And though they knew he was certainly the same Swamiji, their tittering stuck in their throats, and their happy glances to each other suddenly abated in uncertainty and nervousness. As regards Swamiji's gravity, their joy of a few moments before seemed suddenly childish. As a cloud quickly covers the sun like a dark shade, Prabhupada changed his mood from jolly to grave, and they spontaneously resolved to become equally grave and sober. He picked up the kartalas and again smiled, a ray of appreciation, and their hearts beamed back. The temple was still a tiny storefront, with many hidden and unhidden cockroaches, a tilted floor, and poor lighting. But because many of the decorations were from India, it had an authentic atmosphere, especially with Swamiji present on the days. Now, guests who entered were suddenly in a little Indian temple. Micra. I came one evening and all of a sudden there were carpets on the floor, pictures on the wall, and paintings. This all of a sudden it had blossomed and was full of people. I was amazed how, in just a matter of days, people had brought so many wonderful things. When I came that evening and saw how it had been decorated, then I wasn't so much worried that he was going to make it. I thought it was really beginning to take hold. Prabhupada looked at his group of followers. He was moved by their offering him a seat of honor and their attempts at decorating Krishna's sloka. To see a devotee make an offering to Krishna was not new for him, but this was new. In New York, the horrible place, the seed of bhakti was growing, and naturally, as the gardener of the tender sprout, he was touched by Krishna's mercy. Glancing at the pictures on the wall, he said, tomorrow I will come, look at the pictures and tell you which are good. The next day, Prabhupada came down to appraise the new artwork on display. One framed watercolor painting was of a man playing a drum while a girl danced. This one is all right, he said. But another painting of a woman was more Monday, and he said, "No, this painting is not so good." He walked to the back of the temple, followed anxiously by Howard, Keaton, Wally. When he came upon the painting of the six-armed person, he said, "Oh, this is very nice." "Who is it?" Wally asked. "This is Lord Chaitanya," Prabhupada replied. "Why does he have six arms?" "Because he showed himself to be both Rama and Krishna. These are the arms of Rama, and these are the arms of Krishna." "What are the other two arms?" Keith said. "Those are the arms of a sannyasi." He went to the next picture. "This is also very nice." "Who is it?" Howard asked. "This is Hanuman." "Is he a cat?" "No," Prabhupada replied. "He's a monkey." Hanuman is glorified in the scripture Ramayana as a valiant, faithful servant of Lord Ramchandra. Missions of Indians worship, millions of Indians worship the incarnation of Lord Rama and his servitor, Hanuman, whose exploits are perennially exhibited in theater, cinema, art, and temple worship. In not knowing who Hanuman was, the Mott Street boys were no less ignorant than the old ladies uptown who, when Prabhupada had asked whether any of them had seen a picture of Krishna, had all stared blankly. The Lower East Side mystics didn't know Hanuman from a cat, and they had brought back from their Ashish version of India a picture of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without even knowing who he was. Yet there was an important difference between the boys and the ladies of town. The boys were serving Swamiji and chanting Hare Krishna. They were through with they were through with material life and the middle class woke reward syndrome. Their hearts had awakened to Swamiji's promise to expand their Krishna consciousness. And it seemed in his personal company something exalted, like the Bum, Bowery Bum, who had donated toilet paper during Prabhupada's lecture. The Lower East Side boys did not have their minds quite in order, and yet as Prabhupada saw it, Krishna was guiding them. From within their hearts, Prabhupada knew they would change for the better by chanting and hearing about Krishna. The summer of 1966 moved into August, and Prabhupada kept good health. For him, these were happy days. New Yorkers complained of the summer heat waves, but this caused no inconvenience to one accustomed to the 100-degree plus temperatures of Vrindavan blazing summers. "It is like India," he said, as he went without a shirt, seeming relaxed and at home. He had thought that in America he would have to subsist on boiled potatoes. Otherwise, there would be nothing but meat. But here he was happily eating the same rice, dal, and chapatis, and cooking on the same three-stack cooker as in India. Work on the Srimad Bhagavatam had also gone on regular since he had moved into the Second Avenue apartment. And now Krishna was bringing these sincere young men who were cooking, typing, hearing him regularly chanting Hare Krishna and asking for more. Prabhupada was still a solitary preacher, free to stay or go, writing his books in his own intimate relationship with Krishna, quite independent of the boys in the storefront. But now he had taken an International Society for Krishna Consciousness as his spiritual child. The inquiring young men, some of whom had already been chanting steadily for over a month, were like stumbling spiritual infants, and he felt responsible for guiding them. They were beginning to consider him their spiritual master, trusting him to lead into spiritual life. And they were unable to immediately follow the multifarious rules that Brahmanas and Vaishnavas in India followed. He was hopeful. According to Rupa Goswami, the most important principle was that one should somehow or other become Krishna conscious. People should chant Hare Krishna and render devotional service. They should engage whatever they had in the service of Krishna. And Prabhupada was exercising the basic principle of Krishna consciousness to the furthest limit the history of Vaishnavism had ever seen. I'll stop here, Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada is with Ki Jai. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25, Text 30. That is present. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswati Vyasam. Tato Jaya Rudhira. Nastaprai Subhadeshu. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavate Uttamam Shukri. Vibhavati Naishaki. Shri Bhakti Ki Jai. Yat Eshama Panga Vikanditendriyam Savritta Bhava Smita Vibраmat Bhruva Tvaya Upashrishtaha Bhagavan Mano Bhavaha Prabhatate Thanu Thanu Grahane Sobhane Yat Eshama Panga Vikanditendriyam Savritta Bhava Smita Vibраmat Bhruva तयो पस्पृष्टो भगवान् मनोभाव प्रबद्धते थानुग्रहाण शोभन यत् एषमापङ्ग विखण्डितेन्द्रिया सवृत्तभाव स्मितविभ्रमद्भ्रुव त्वया उपसृष्टः भगवान् मनः भावः प्रबद्धते यतः अनुग्रहण शोभने. I request Prabhuji, if you'd like to read. Hare Krishna. Okay. Mataji's, Prabhuji, if you would like to go through the Sanskrit sloka. I'll continue. Synonyms. Yat, because. Esha, this. Ma, me. Apanga, by your glances. Vikandita, agitated. Indriyam, whose senses or mind. Savrida, with shyness. Bhava, affection. Smita, smiling. Vibrama, bewildering. Bhruva, with eyebrows. Tvaya, by you. Upashvishta, big influence. Bhagavan, the most beautiful. Sorry, the most powerful. Mana Bhava, Cupid. Prabha, Prabhadhati, is harassing. Atha, therefore, Anugraha, be merciful. Sobhane, O very beautiful one. Translation Prabhupada by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Certainly, your glancing upon me today has very much agitated my mind. Your smile, which is full of shyness, but at the same time lusty, is agitating the most powerful Cupid within me. Therefore, O most beautiful, I ask you to be merciful upon me. Purport. Everyone has lusty desires within, and as soon as one is agitated by the movement of a beautiful woman's eyebrows, the Cupid within immediately throws his arrow at the heart. Thus, one is quickly conquered by the eyebrows of a beautiful woman. When one is agitated by lusty desires, his senses are attracted by all kinds of vishaya, enjoyable things like sound, touch, form, smell, and taste. These attractive sense objects oblige one to come under the control of a woman. In this way, the conditional life of a living entity begins. Conditional life means being under the control of a woman. And certainly, the living entity is always at the mercy of a woman or a man. Thus, living entities live in bondage to one another, and thus they continue this conditional material life illusion by Maya. The invocation praise. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपं कदा मायं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपादकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथवितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादां सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधाकांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकाल्पातरेवश्च कृपा सिंधु भयेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Read the translation one more time. Certainly, your glancing upon me today has very much agitated my mind. Your smile, which is full of shyness but at the same time lusty, is agitating the most powerful Cupid within me. Therefore, O most beautiful, I ask you to be merciful upon me. So, in this chapter, 25, Canto 4, it's titled The Description of the Characteristics of King Puranjana. Um, we get to see Prabhupada explains that how King Puranjana becomes attracted to a woman, to a beautiful woman. And the different stages are showed, explained when he gets attracted. First, he inquires about him. And as more as he knows, the attraction increases. And he starts thinking that she is as silent as a great sage. And then, by being attracted by by the beauty of the woman, if he imagines that she is the goddess of fortune, bewildered, he then realizing that the goddess of fortune has always has a lotus flower in her hand. He asks her, "Where's the lotus flower?" And further he says, "Whether you have thrown it somewhere." Then he looks at her, looking at her feet, seeing that it's not touching the ground, knowing that demigods, when they come, they don't touch the ground. So he realizes that she's not a goddess of fortune, but still, with high hopes, with desires, strong desires, he tries to but her, saying that you are like the god, you are like the goddess of fortune, and you can increase the beauty of my city by being with me, by associating with me. And after glorifying the woman, the beautiful woman, what he does, he now tries to praise himself, saying that I'm a great hero. I'm a very powerful king on this planet. Which brings on us to today's text. Here Prabhupada explains that the state of mind, how it's changing further. King Puranjana's state of mind, how it's changing further, just by mere glancing of, and by the smile of the beautiful woman. We get to see that when the king and the woman are interacting, the king is led to more desires, lusty desires. And as his senses gets attracted further, what happens? He wants to enjoy through sound, touch, form, smell, and taste. And within this, through all these states, we can see the king is slowly moving towards ignorance. Now, if I ask Prabhuji and Mataji in the forum today, to Prabhuji, are you men? Are you a man? Are you a man? Oh, Matajis, are you a woman? What would you say? What will be your reply?
Yes.
Yes, you are a man.
Yes.
And Matajis, are you a woman?
Yes, Prabhu, that's what you will identify with.
Yes, but the right answer is no. We are all spirit soul. We are not this body. In chapter 2, Lord Krishna explains Arjuna in detail that we are not this body, but to enjoy, we define ourselves through this body. So we are in ignorance. We are ignoring the fact that we are spirit soul. We are not this body. And why such ignorance, which King Puranjana shows? It's because of lust, desire. Srila Prabhupada says, as in the purport, that as soon as one is agitated, the king was agitated by mind. And such agitation ignites the lust within one in association of material energy, which is mode of passion. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita 3.37, Kama esha krodha esha rajaguna samudbhava mahasano mahapapam vidhi enam iha vairinam. It is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and transformed into wrath. And again, which is, so lust is, which is the all devouring sinful enemy of this world. So, and in the purport, Prabhupada explains that how lust is born, samudbhava. When a living entity comes in contact with the material energy, with the mode of passion, Rajaguna, lust is born. And when it's born, what happens? From spirit soul's perspective, one's eternal love for Krishna at its spiritual state is transformed into lust, again in association with the mode of passion. Prabhupada gives further examples, just like milk, when comes in contact with tamarind, what happens? It turns into yogurt. Same way, when soul's eternal love for Krishna, for Lord, transforms when it comes in contact with the material energy or material object through senses. And as a result, just like the king Puranjana, who was being bewildered. We get bewildered by lust. Who is, Lord explains, Prabhupada gives its characteristics. It is the all-devouring Maha Ashana. It's the sinful Mahapapam, and it's Varinam. It's the greatest enemy of the conditional living entity in this world, of everyone in this world. So further, just like milk, lust now not fulfilled, just like milk, when it's in contact with time, it turns into yogurt. Similarly, when lust is not fulfilled, it transforms into wrath, entangling one into the prison of this material world. And this wrath is none other than anger. We surely have heard about incidents happening around the world, specifically in India. It is seen that when a boy comes in contact with a girl, and even celebrities, movies portray such as the so-called normal lifestyle. When a boy comes in contact with a girl, he builds desires, feelings for the girl. And what happens? He tries to impress by buying gifts, by making promises. In movies, there's songs written, and it comes to a stage of this delusion, daydreaming, making plans of traveling and of living life. But when the dream, when this dream is over, when the dream is over and the boy comes out of illusion, when the girl declines the proposal, refuses, then what happens? Same boy who was ready to do everything for that girl is now, instead of buying gifts, buys poison. Instead of making plans to spend time or travel, what he does, he makes plans to hurt the girl. He kills or gets killed. He does not cares or remembers. He forgets, completely loses his intelligence. Full state of delusion, bewildered. So because of this lust, because of this desire, when not fulfilled, so lust is in mode of passion. And when this lust is not fulfilled, what happens? The person downgrades to mode of ignorance. Wrath, it is the manifestation of mode of ignorance. And as a result, anger develops and the person is in complete delusion. He gets entangled by committing sinful activities, entangled further into this world of misery, dukhalayam shastra. So we can see that one who is entrapped, who's completely shackled by lust, by desire, is in a very poor state, in a very bad state. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Prabhupada gives example of Yathol Benavrito Garbhas. There are different stages of lust, and the last stage, which is embryo covered by the womb. Just like a baby who is trapped in a womb, this of the mother, there's not much space for him to move, for the baby to move. The baby can't even cry out his pain. the baby cannot get out because before time, as it is completely under the mercy of nature, it has to go through the period of 9 months. Such is the state of one who is deeply entangled in lust, who is deeply entrapped by the shackle of lust. Now, one may be enjoying by fulfilling their desires. Say the facilities provide, they receive the facility. Krishna provides everything as per one's desire. So if one is enjoying, fulfilling their desires through senses, through sense gratification, they might feel this freedom. They might be feeling freedom with some feeling of happiness. But this so-called feeling of happiness is the ultimate enemy of the sense enjoyment. So we can see one senses, which is the medium to enjoy, plus the mind, which is agitated. It wants to enjoy more and more and more. And in order to do that, one's intelligence, which is in a bewildered state, forgetting, are all the sitting place of the lust. God explains in Bhagavad Gita 3.40, Indriyani manobuddhir asya dhishthanam. Asya dhishthanam, sitting place of lust, which is mind, senses, and senses, mind, and intelligence. So we can see these all are the negative aspects of the so-called lust. So how do we overcome this lust? How can we overcome and achieve real, true freedom? We always wish every year happy Independence Day. But are we actually independent? We are not. We are not independent. We are independent. Either if one is in material, one is more materially entangled, they're independent under the control of material world, of material energy, of the three modes. But if one wants to be free, it is not possible. A person is always independent, but under the modes of material nature, they are in a state of miseries. So how can we get out of this misery? We have to overcome this lust. Now, as we know where it resides and how it's born, through the knowledge that Lord has provided us, Prabhupada has explained us, we can overcome this lust. We know the three residing places. What are the three residing places that we just talked about, where lust resides? Prabhuji, Mataji's?
Mind,
Intelligence and senses.
senses.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji. So, senses, mind, intelligence. So how can we overcome? Let's target the first, senses. How can we overcome? How can we overcome the lust? For senses, we have, Prabhupada explains, one has to regulate one's senses. Mind, by deliberate spiritual intelligence, and intelligence by gradual development of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada has given us a very simple, systematic process of Krishna consciousness. And just by following the basic process, the basics of this process, one can overcome lust. For senses, Lord says, Tashmat tvam indriyami ado. Prabhupada says in the purport explaining that one should, at the very beginning, one must curb lust by regulating senses. And how can we regulate senses? By following the 4 regulator principles. So to regulate, we have the regulator principles. What are those 4 regulator principles? Prabhuji's Mataji, what are those 4 regulator principles? No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. These are the 4 regulatory principles that Prabhupada has given us to curb senses. Because these 4 activities engages one further into mode of passion and mode of ignorance. When one eats meat, when one intoxicates, when one gambles, when one is engaged in relationship, they get more and more entangled in these 2 lower modes, mode of passion and mode of ignorance. So, first thing first, one who goes through this regulative process, they are able to first control the senses. Then there's a 5th one, chanting. Now, if one says, why these 4? We already know that we are in the fire of material creation, material condition, sorry. We are burning. Now, my question is, how do you put down fire? Put off fire, what do you have to do? Do we pour petrol into it? No. We know petrol is flammable. It's going to ignite the fire more furiously. So, we pour water. So, by following these 4 regulatory principles, we are actually pouring water. We are abstaining ourselves. This is austerity. And we short the process. But the 5th one is very important. Chanting. Why is very important? Well, we may be following the regulatory principle, but we need to be reminded again and again, every day, that we should be very careful of this greatest enemy, lust. And how do we remind? Through chanting. Just like a small kid needs to be reminded again and again that by touching a hot pot or by putting his finger in hot water, it will burn. Similarly, by regular attentive chanting, we are reminding ourselves. What are we reminding? That we are eternal soul and we only want eternal love and eternal pleasure. How? By doing eternal service of the eternal Supreme Lord Krishna. May I please request anyone to explain what is the meaning of Mahamantra? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. What's the meaning of Mahamantra as provided by Prabhupada?
God, the energy of the Lord is engaged in your loving devotional service.
Yes, so we are praying, we are saying, O Srimati Radharani, the loving potency of Lord Krishna. O Supreme Lord, the eternal reservoir of all pleasure, please engage me in your loving devotional service. So this is a reminder for us that we are in a really bad state. We are stuck. We are locked. We are in a lockdown. And we are reminding ourselves that to get out of it, who we are, first of all, who we are eternal soul. And what do we want? We want eternal love. We want eternal pleasure. And how can we get that? How can we do that, we have, and what, how do we do that? We do it by eternal service of whom? The eternal Lord. So by following these four regulative principles and chanting, we are reminding ourselves every day that we need to get out of the shackles of lust. Now, devotee who follow this process and endeavors for Krishna Bhakti is always protected by this greatest enemy of soul. He derives great satisfaction and bliss. A living entity in this conditioned state does all this. Why? Just to be satisfied, to enjoy. But instead of that, he suffers. But by doing bhakti, by doing Krishna bhakti, one achieves the same result, but without misery. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, text 9, Lord says, Machita mat kata prana bodhayantas parasparam kathayantas cha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotee dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So, a devotee who's practicing, who's following the systematic process is always doing what? Is Tushyanti and Ramanti. He becomes pleased and he enjoys the transcendental bliss, which the soul which the soul always wants. Now, we all know the story of the great king Vishwamitra. Great king Vishwamitra wanted to defeat Vashishta over a small quarrel to get the cow Sabala. He fights with his great army, but he loses the battle. Then, as he loses the battle, that desire to have the cow, and when failed to fulfill that desire, what happens? He becomes angry, wrath, and he goes under deep austerity. But every time he gets distracted and falls in the trap of greed by envy by king Trishanku, who uses his enmity with Vashishta as a means to get what he wanted. So he gets distracted. Then he falls into the trap of lust by Menaka, who gets sent by King Indra, who was scared that Vishwamitra might take over his kingdom of heaven. And he gets angry by Ramba, who again, when comes to distract him, and Vishwamitra curses Ramba. But when he gives up the association of this lust, anger, and greed, he achieves the state of a Brahmin. But this process that he follows out of lust, out of anger, out of greed, takes him celestial years. And we all know that in Kali Yuga, we don't have that much time, because the lifespan in Kali Yuga is reducing exponentially. So, same place, a devotee of the Lord, Sri Haridas Thakur, who just by chanting and following the regulative principles and engaged in Krishna Bhakti, devotional service of the Lord, defeats the evil lust, who comes in the form of a prostitute. But same time, same prostitute gets purified and becomes a devotee merely by by association of such pure devotee. So why do we take the long cut? Why shouldn't we take the shortcut? Krishna consciousness and its simplified process, which can help one for spiritual prosperity. It can help one to overcome the miseries and become free from the pangs of this material world, of this Dukhala Shashvata. As Lord says, Kaunteya pratijani name bhaktya panashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So, here Lord himself is giving the guarantee that one who comes to Krishna consciousness is always protected by the Lord. From what? From lust, anger, and greed, which, as explained, is the gateway to heaven. Summarize this. The same lust that we can see being developed in the king can be overcome, and one can get out of this bondage of material existence by following the regulatory principles, by chanting, and also by reading in association of devotees. It has to be in the association of devotees, because we see those three factors: science, senses, mind, and intelligence. They all three are bewildered or diverted through the association. So one needs to associate with a pure devotee as much as possible. And when one follows this process, can conquer this greatest enemy of soul, of all living entities, through Nishkam Bhakti, and attain their original Swarupa, their original identity. As Mahaprabhu says, Jivara Swarupa Hoy Krishna Nityadas. Our actual position is that of eternal servants of Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. I will request if there's any questions or comments. Okay. If there's no question or comments, I will end the class, today's class here today. Thank you so much. Panchakalpatarivasya Kripasindhivayavacha Paritanam Pavanevya Vaishnavya Namo Namaha. Anant Koti Vaishnavind ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Sumati Nimai Prabhu ki jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.